Today I'm with the wonderful Miss Lisa Miles Beddingfield. Miss Lisa, thank you for the honor number one of coming on podcast. Pretty excited. Please tell us all where you're
Absolutely.
from and how you grew up and where you grew up.
Shane and I both are originally from here in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Um, both born and raised right here. So this is our hometown, and we're still here
Bill? So you
for
have been
now. For
you have
now,
been, well, and y'all been married how many years now?
it'll be 22 next the 20th of September.
22 years. Oh
22 years.
gosh, man,
Yeah,
how do you do it?
one day at a time. One day at a time. Actually, we're very blessed. We have a great relationship and we enjoy the same things and we love our family and love our hounds and it's a real good combination. So we've really been blessed.
Same thing with my mom and dad. It's kind of I see the same thing in them and to watch them. I mean, golly, I know they have to be 45 years now, pretty close. So
Yeah.
it's crazy to watch it, but it's pretty neat to watch as well. Two people come together and enjoy the same thing.
Yeah, it's a real treat and a real pleasure in life to when you wake up every day and you know that it's going to be a good day.
Yeah, isn't it? It sure is.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
now, where did you start in hounds, and what got you started in hounds?
Actually, it was Shane. When Shane and I first started dating, we had a black and tan male dog named Deacon. That he was primarily a hunting dog, but he was a show dog too. A real hound. I mean, he was as dual as they come. And unfortunately, not long after Shane and I started dating, he was run over and killed on the road. So we lost Deacon, and that was my first real exposure to coon hounds and coon hunting. And so it was a couple of years later that one of his friends, Clint Pace, had went to Ohio to pick up a red tick English male. And when he got up there, he called us and said, "Hey, he's got a beautiful little female, and Shane was wanting a red tick female." So um, he brought him back to us, and Lily, my sweet Lily, was my first coonhound. And from there, I just got addicted, and that was about 20 years ago. So
And been hooked ever since.
hooked ever since and love every minute of it. Yes, yes.
Well, I'm going to start this podcast because I said that if there was a question for anybody, it's going to be Lisa because Miss Lisa will know how to answer this properly because I don't. I'm just kind of confused on this one and conflicted on what I would say.
Okay.
I'll just say in the west part of the United States.
Hmm.
And she
Hmm.
just got into bench shows and she said, "How do you guys police your judging?" And I went, what is she talking about? So I dug a little deeper and I said, "What do you mean?"
Hmm.
And she said, "Well, I tend to go as she's been to 7 shows, and I looked at the hound, and the
Hmm.
hound's better than average, and she's going to local
Right.
shows, and I would expect a dog of this caliber definitely to do some winning, Lisa, definitely."
Hmm. Right.
And she was meant to, I think, 7 to 9 shows. Don't quote me 100% on that, but long
Hmm.
story short, she said of the 7 to 9 shows, she's never made the cut. And then I started looking at pictures of dogs that were beating her. And I
Hmm.
started going, oh, I see why she's actually complaining. I'm talking
Right.
about flatfoot otter dogs, like
Right.
bad shape.
Right.
How is someone new to the sport supposed to say something about that?
Well, the biggest thing, and I think it's one of the things that a lot of our young people have really latched on to, is making sure that you have somebody that's a mentor of some kind. I had mentors when I started, um, and was blessed with those people in my life and are still in my life, the majority of them. And, when you have a situation like that, you can go to those people and say, "Hey, this is happening to me. What do I need to do?" And, you know, most people are going to say, "Well, the old adage, on any given day, you're paying for a judge's opinion."
Yeah.
Also, on any given day, when you go to and I'm not bashing our local clubs because they are the heart and soul of our coon hunt world. If it wasn't for our local clubs, we wouldn't have this that we do.
That's a
The four
roots.
or five, the 4 or 5 major shows that we all go to every year is not the heart and soul. It's our local clubs.
Right. Right.
But also, those local clubs can get a little clicky sometimes. And unfortunately, things like that happen. I mean, it's happened to all of us. I
I, I
mean,
I had to flip a quarter one time.
yeah. I mean, honestly, it has happened to all of us. I mean, you went to my thing is RQEs.
Mm.
Because all of your RQEs are held at local clubs. Your local clubs. Some of them are bigger RQEs, like at your breed days and stuff like that. But like, this past weekend I went to an RQE and there were 4 dogs in the show. I had to last minute try to get one qualified. Great club, great people. But I've also been to clubs in the past and it took more than one dog to qualify. And especially early in the year when everybody's showing at RQEs, you win one category, most likely the local club, you're not going to win two.
Yeah.
And that's whether your dog was the best dog or not or whatever, it just doesn't happen. And, it's hard especially for a young person who has never really been in this. And it sounds like she's trying to venture into this world a little bit on her
Yeah.
own.
She is. She
Um,
is. And they're in an isolated
and
area.
yeah, and my suggestion, if she was to have asked me that question, would have been to find somebody that's in one of those clubs that she already has because I'm sure she has a relationship with somebody,
Sure.
that she can talk to these people about the things that are going on, and it is hard. It is hard
Sure.
for these young people, and I always try to encourage our young people, and I have some that I deal with on a regular basis that I've kind of taken under my wing you know, and tried to help them as much as I can. And my thing is just to keep encouraging, just encouraging. And, it's going to happen. It's going to
Yeah.
happen. You're
I,
the
I,
newbie. You're still learning. It's going to happen. We've all been there. I mean, it was forever for me in a lot of situations before, I ever had any type of a win. And I'll say at a major event, class win or even a breed win.
right.
When you go to these major things, you're looking for your breed win. Anything else is icing. You know,
Anything else?
anything above your breed win, no matter what kind of show it is icing on the cake. And, you just have to look at that. We've all, and what I like to tell them, I'm like, listen, we've all lost a lot more than we've ever won.
Woo. Yes, ma'am.
And that's the key. And they have to realize that if it's something they're really interested in, they just have to keep digging, you know, keep
That's
working,
exactly
keep
right.
digging, and get somebody that can help you and encourage you and stand with you when these situations arise that where somebody else can go, and because they're still young and they're still, no matter the age, they're young in our sport.
Right.
And they don't know that it's okay to go up to that judge after the show and go, hey, I just wanted to know what your opinion was of my dog and, what you saw and what I can do better. And then you build those relationships with those judges that you may go back and show under at some other point, and they're going to go, okay, so this is that young lady who's really working, really trying, asking questions, and it's going to make a difference.
And the way
Um,
you approach it is everything.
the way you approach it is everything. You don't if you get mad about the whole situation and really show out, then the next time you go and show, they're still not going to look at you. But if
Exactly.
you ask for that judge's opinion or that judge's help, I have kids that come up to me all the time, whether I'm judging or whether I'm not. We'll take Southeastern for prime example. I put their shows on. Their regular show and their youth show coming up in November. Plug for our youth show in November. And there's a lot of kids that'll go, Miss Lisa, could you help me, or can you help me work with my dog? And I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Give me a few minutes. Let me finish up this. Hang out. We'll put it on the bench. We'll put it on the ground. We'll work on it.
Right.
And I'm never gonna not have the time for that person. And it's not always a kid. Sometimes it's a newbie to our
Yeah.
business. And it is a business. Regardless, it's a hobby, but it's a business.
It's a business.
I mean, it is a business. I mean, there's nobody that you can't not have it that way. You have to go about your business when
You
it
have to go
comes to
about your
our
business, and you got to remember everybody's
mm,
out there. Everybody out there is competitors.
competitors. They are competitors, and you know, we're friends. We're friends outside the ring. We're friends inside the ring, but we're competitors when we're inside the ring, and we walk outside the ring and we're friends again.
That's exactly
That's the
right.
joy. That's the joy of our community, our family, as I like to call us. But yeah, it is tough. And if she's in a place where there's not a lot of people, she's got an uphill battle to to do that. But I would just encourage her just to keep working and talk to those judges and get them to help her in what they're looking at and what they're doing. That's the key to me is get those judges on to help you. Because when they see
Exactly.
you wanting to learn and wanting to work and getting their opinions and their help, it makes a big difference. And it's going to help her in the long run too.
Well, and I really appreciate your input on that because that was beautifully said. It really was. And, you know, people don't understand in this sport, attitude really is everything. It really is.
It is.
Whether
And,
you're talking about just the person, I'm sorry, but whether you're talking about
mhm,
just the person with attitude or the hound with attitude, if those two are not clicking, you can see it. And if you
you can
don't
hang
put
it
it,
up.
ex-
Exactly. You can work your dogs. I mean, we've all been in that situation. We can work your dog, you work your dog work every day for 365 days a year, and you can take it somewhere that's going to act like an idiot. It happens. It happens. And then you get so mad and so frustrated with that dog. And then the next time you take them out, they look like $1 million. It's just the nature of the beast. You
we
can do what you can
forget.
do.
A lot of
Yeah.
people forget, at the end of the day, they're still
Mhm.
animals.
They're still animals. We're
They,
not perfect.
we're not
We're not
perfect.
perfect. So
No,
how do we expect them to be perfect all the time? You just have to roll with it. And
you
yeah, you get
do.
aggravated.
It's something else I would add to that. If like you said, ask questions. And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
say one more thing that I'll add to it. If you ever got an issue, keep talking about
Mm-hmm.
it. Be genuine. Ask
Yeah.
ask folks what's your input on this. Eventually, someone's going to give you some advice.
Yes.
You know.
And like I said, I had when I got my first English hound, it went back to the bloodlines of Don and Vicky Hill.
Mm,
I didn't know I didn't know Don and Vicky Hill, you know, but the next show that I went to with her when she was old enough and we started working and showing, I had never showed before in my life. I mean, we're talking green as grass. And but I made the point of introducing myself and Lily to Don and Vicky. Well, Don and Vicky were my first mentors, and Don's not the talker. Anybody knows Don Hill knows he's not a big talker, but what he says matters. Now, Vicky was the talker, and she was going to make sure that she had you, I mean, down to how to wash a dog, how to groom a dog, how to show a dog, how to, do all that stuff. Vicky was right on top of it. And she was like, okay, this is what you need to do. And this is how you need to do this. This is how you need to do that. And I can still put a dog in a bathtub 20 years later to wash them. And I'll go to do something. I'm like, no, Miss Vicky said to do this, because you remember those things,
you
you
do.
know.
You do. Doing
Mm-hmm.
Oaks in 22 as a judge. What
Mm-hmm.
what does that feel like?
Autumn Oaks, which is, coming up, we'll all be headed that way next weekend. And it's the granddaddy of them all.
It is.
You have, Worlds is Worlds. Worlds is a whole different scenario in a different situation. Autumn Oaks, you get the opportunity to lay your hands on the top dogs in the country.
I agree.
No matter what the breed is, and it's such an honor. I was so honored to be able to do that and to be able to actually pin the national brand. Was so really humbling. I mean, you you don't know until you get there what you're going to feel or what you're going to do, or and you don't know what people are going to bring you. You don't know
Right.
what you're going to have or who's going to show up or who's going to show to you.
Yeah.
But we were both blessed. Andy and I, work very well together as judges because we like a lot of the same attributes of hounds. So I knew what she was sending me was going to be something that I wanted to see, and she knew what I was sending her was going to be something that she wanted to see, to the best of our ability. Um, because that's how we work. That's how we like our dogs the same way, and basically the same structure styles, the same, there's a lot of things that go into judging preferences. I mean, there is a judging preference.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a big hound girl. I like a big hound. Most of my hounds are pretty good sized hounds,
Right.
and I like a big hound. I look at a hound, I want to see a hound. Now I want a girl to look like a girl. I want a boy to look like a male dog. And there's a crossover there to where sometimes girls look a little more like boys, and the boys can look a little more like a girl on their stature. Um, but you still, even in those situations, you have to get down to look at how the hound itself is built and what the structure of that dog is. I'm adamant about I don't care who's standing behind that dog. I'm looking at the dog.
Right.
And that's something that's come a long way in our sport, I think. 10 years ago, it was more about who was behind the dog than it was who was in front of the dog 15
It
years
was
ago.
brutal.
And now it's not as bad. There are still situations, of course, and that's going to happen.
Sure.
There's no, that's like I said, it's a business, it's the nature of our sport. But, you have to be able to block those things out, and you have to really focus on a hound. And when you're looking at multiple hounds in 7 different breeds, you really have to be on your game. You have to know your standards. You have to know what you're looking at. And even when you're down to your finals, you've got 7 hounds standing there. You have to go, you're judging them against each other, but the main thing is you're judging that hound against its specific breed standard. And I think a lot of people forget that. No,
How hard is it in National Grand? Here you got seven of the
Mhm.
greatest at that time.
Yes,
How hard is it to go through every one of those and meet those breed standards and start judging them on them standards?
it is. It is really hard. It's not an easy position to be in because you are fixing to make one person happy and 6 people not very happy. Um, but you have, and really, I'm a ground girl to a certain extent. I want to see your dog I want to see that dog move. Um, and you and I've talked about this, and I'm not one to begrudge anybody for anything, and I will be the first person to congratulate somebody. And just like in your situation with Stella in this past year, she's done some amazing winning, and but I saw something that you could do differently or do a little better, in my opinion. So I came to you and to your mom, and I told both of you. I said, "Listen, she's an amazing hound. I need you to, I would like for you to do this if it was me,
Right.
if I was seeing this dog." And I have people that do that for me too, and it's really important because you can't see all the time what your dog looks like, especially
Right.
when you're in a show ring. No matter how much you practice at home or whatever, and if there's something where you could gate them a little faster, or you could gate them a little bit slower, or you know how you set them or how you stretch them, or there's just an inch can make a world of difference in the appearance of a dog and how you set that dog.
And
And
and then to have someone, and I'm not trying to cut you off, but when someone comes
no, you're
up to
fine.
you and
Hmm.
I really respected you. I mean, I grew up pretty much around you. I mean, you're talking
Hmm.
Don and Vicky Hill earlier. I mean, that was the
Hmm.
roots of this sport. And I grew up
Yeah.
around Don and Vicky, and
Hmm.
when they brought Bobby Lou, right? Bobby Lou?
Bobby Lou, yes, Bobby Lou.
Woo! When they broke
Hmm.
that gym out of the box, I'll never forget her. I
Yeah.
I was the English man. I was hooked. I didn't do nothing but English for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
to
and I
have someone that's been in the sport as long as you have, and 22
yeah.
years now, let's just
Hmm.
say, 22 years in this sport, and for you to come over and talk to me, it meant so much to me as a handler because it says a lot about you as yourself. You're wanting help. You see something, there's something there that
Right.
could change. You got to listen, folks. When someone walks up to
Yeah.
you, don't take offense to what they're trying to tell you, please.
Right.
Because
Right.
sometimes Miss Lisa was 100% dead on what she was telling me, and we went back and won.
Hmm. Absolutely. And it does make a difference sometimes, at how we approach those things. And um, like I said before, I have a lot of people that come up and ask me questions and want me to help them, and I try to do my best.
Right.
I'm not a perfect handler. I'm not a perfect judge. But I do try to take my experiences and the knowledge that was given to me. I had Don and Vicky Hill, I had Doc and Chirpy, I had Lee Kearns, who lives at my back door.
Right.
Um, those were the people that I surrounded myself with. Doc and Chirpy have been a friend to everybody in the black and tan breed,
Yes, ma'am.
and they have laid their knowledge of their years of experience in the black and tans um, out there for anybody that's willing to listen.
Yes,
They'll
ma'am.
tell you the things, and that meant so much to me those years ago. And the first time that Gracie and I beat Chirpy and Noel at Winter Classic, when Mr. Junior Lassiter was judging, God rest his soul, he was a good man.
Yeah, he
And
was.
Gracie, Gracie and I finally beat Chirpy and Noel, and that feeling was like, okay, I've arrived.
Yeah.
I finally beat my Chirpy, and we've competed against each other for years, and she's beat me, and I've beat her, and in different things. But those things that she taught me, and Vicky taught me, and Lee Kearns, I was competing every weekend. We'd go somewhere here. Lee was there, him and
Right.
Fancy. It was me and Gracie and Lee and Fancy and Gerald Black, and you know
Oh,
we're all from we're all from right in the same neck of the woods. So and John Border with Cat, we were all in the same club. We were in the same local club,
you
and
talking
so
about
the
some stiff
trophies.
competition. For folks
So
that don't know those names that she just spoke right there, I would
yeah,
say almost all, I would say all of them would probably go down in the Hall of Fame.
absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely, and
John and
that's
Kay Boarder, folks. A lot of folks don't know John and Kay Boarder. Very
mhm,
underrated, very underrated, very underlooked.
yes,
Very good
yes,
people.
great people, good Christian people, good hearts, good, do anything for anybody. And that's the kind of people that you want to surround yourself with, you know. Um, we've been, I've been so blessed. I mean, everybody knows Andy and mine relationship. Well, we met through Coonhounds. I didn't know Andy, she didn't know me. And so we met through Coonhounds, and now we're family. We're not friends, we're family,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't trade the relationship that we were blessed with when God decided we needed each other. And he was right. He was right, because we both went through some lots of things, over the years. But I would have never had her in my life if it hadn't have been for the Coonhounds. And now she's married to one of our best friends. She lives right here in North Carolina, and I have her right here to where we can do our things, and not just hounds. We were down there for dinner last night, and that's what it's all about. We bought a place in West Virginia because we became friends with Gary and Danielle Champ. They live right there where we bought our home, and them and their family are part of our family. And those are the things that you just can't give up. You can't. And they all came from this wonderful coonhound world that we're in. And people don't realize that there is so much more to what we do than just
And
show up and
everybody,
show a dog.
and folks don't realize how family oriented the sport really is. I mean,
It
when we
really is.
show up, I mean, I don't get to see you, but maybe 5 or 6 times a year if I'm lucky.
Right.
But
Right.
even though I've only seen you 5 or 6 times, or Andy Albert in the instance as well,
Hmm.
when I get to see everybody, it's like we're all family again. Like when we go to
Yeah.
Autumn
Yeah.
Oaks, we all camp together.
Right.
And it's so cool.
Exactly. Exactly. And like we're having the big wedding next week for Nikki and Bryce, at Autumn Oaks. And
Yeah.
you know, that's because that's who her family is her coonhound family. And,
Yeah.
so that's where she wanted to get married. So that's what we're doing. And, so we're going to have a big party, and everybody's going to be there, like just like it should be. And,
Yeah.
so that explains a lot about how family oriented, we all are. And,
It's a
not
good
everybody's not, yeah, not everybody's going to get along, you
no,
know,
and that's no matter
you know,
what sport you do.
no, or just in life in general. I mean, you're not going to get along with everybody, and there's going to be people that are acquaintances, not necessarily friends or family, but it's still our sport, and we're all in it together, regardless of where we come from or how many dogs we have or how long we've been doing it or whatever. It's
Yeah.
all just that's what it's all about.
You said something a minute ago. You talking about moments when you felt like you arrived. Well,
Hmm.
mine was one you spoke of earlier when I wanted
Hmm.
Oaks with Stella. I've never,
Hmm.
people understand that I didn't win Autumn Oaks. I won the confirmation at Autumn
Hmm.
Oaks. And the reason why it was so big is because you know as well, I'm not a big confirmation person. Uh,
Yeah, see, I'm not either, so
it's not for me. And I didn't know the level of dogs I was up against.
right,
And when I won
right.
that, it was unbelievable. I didn't expect to
Hmm.
win it, didn't know nothing about
Hmm.
groundwork. I was like, oh, well, I shouldn't say I don't know nothing about groundwork. I'll take that back. I know
Yeah,
groundwork, but I'm not a specialist.
right,
you
right.
know, and so
We're
to
bench show
win,
people.
that's exactly right.
Yeah,
And
we're bench show people.
that's right. And to win something of that caliber on that level, it meant
Hmm.
just something special to me. And then
Yeah.
the moment I felt like I arrived was when I beat your dear friend Andy Albert, and I could not
Mm,
believe it.
hmm.
When
Yeah, because
I
because you beat a dog.
and
You beat a dog.
I love him. I love that dog,
Yeah.
and he is
Yeah.
so nice. And when I felt like I arrived, and I've been in this business since I was a young man, well, actually my whole life,
Mm,
and I
hmm.
never felt like I showed up until I finally beat that dog.
Yeah.
I
And
said,
it
when
makes
you
a big difference.
It does. Andy was one of the first to congratulate me, and
Hmm.
it's just an amazing thing to have that feeling of a competitor that you've been competing against since you were young too. And they have, I felt the best male in the country, and at that time I didn't know what I had, but I knew she was special.
Right.
And to
Right.
win that, and it blew my mind. And that's just compliments to Andy and what a great
Mm.
person she is and what great hounds she raises.
Now wait till you see the female off of that male that
Oh,
she's just
I,
wait.
I've heard rumors.
Just wait. She's
I
pretty
heard, I
special.
heard. Well,
Yeah, she's pretty
and that's what's
special.
great about our sport, Lisa, is it's great to see everyone have great hounds.
Yeah.
It
And
really
that's
is.
the thing, and when I always say that I'm blessed beyond anything that I could ever deserve because, you know, I've never won, you're gonna laugh, I've never won an overall at a major show. Never.
I didn't know
But
that.
no, but I have three opposite sex world show champions. I'm sorry, I have three, and I have an opposite sex national grand.
Wow.
And yeah, and they've all won their breed days. I've won Queen of Show at Black and Tan Days three times. I've won English Days Queen of Show. I won Plot Days King of Show. Um, and to win those things in your breed and to be recognized, even as the opposite sex of any of those,
Yeah.
is, and I had a mother, a son, and a daughter win it, opposite sex at Worlds.
Man.
10, 20, 2010, Gracie won. 2020, Cole won, and 22, Mercy won. And that was a mother and both of her children. And that was incredible.
Yeah.
Those feelings of knowing that cross that I made on a whim, last minute, um, to a hunting dog, um, was everything that I thought that it was going to be.
Yeah.
And that I was doing something right in my breeds, and the bred Jasmine's a bullberry, which everybody knows bullberry, and Jasmine, of course, and I've got those babies that are fixing to be 5. They're not babies anymore, but so blessed with them and that breeding and that cross and how those came out, and it's just black and tans in English. Those everybody knows those are my heart dogs,
They
and
are.
T was my plot, and Miss Becky Church gave me T when Gracie first lost her first litter. She absorbed a litter, and I was pretty devastated because it was the first litter that I'd ever tried to have. And she had these plot pups, and she says, "I want you to have one." And she gave T to me, so I could have a young dog, and he was so special. The easiest dog I'd ever trained, easiest dog I'd ever showed. And he did his fair share National Grand Plot, Opposite Sex National Grand Plot, King of Show Plot days. And it was all because of her generosity. And
Yeah.
that was the budding of another real friendship and another great family to be a part of. And, you just can't thank everybody, and you don't realize until you sit down and start thinking about things how important those things are, Um,
Every moment, every moment you're at a big hunt, you got a chance to make an impact on everyone that you're around.
exactly,
And
exactly. And it was whether winning or losing, you still have a chance. There's always somebody watching you,
yes, ma'am.
always somebody watching you.
Yeah, that's exactly
And,
right. And when you
you
humble
know,
your butt down and you start listening,
hmm
you start winning.
yeah. And exactly. And, you've got to take the wins and love those wins and appreciate those wins. But then you got to turn right back around and you got to take that loss and
That's right.
appreciate the loss and go back and work harder. And, a lot of people don't realize that. And,
Like they told me
there's
when I
people
rode bulls years ago, learn how to lose, learn how to fall off.
learn how to lose, right? Because it's going to happen.
It's
More like
inevitable.
we said, more often than you're going to win,
Yeah,
honestly. And
100%. Okay, so I got a really, really good question for you, Miss Lisa. Um,
all right, go for it.
how many years now have you been judging hounds?
Um, gosh, um, probably at least 15, if not longer. My first major assignment was youth nationals. Um, and I'm not exactly sure what year it was, but it's probably been at least 15 years.
Oh, wow. It's been quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when you're
Uh,
judging a hound, what is
mhm.
it that you're focusing on? I know breed standards and stuff like that, but when you're looking at a dog, how do you evaluate a hound?
I am I consider myself a handsy judge, but I do that in my initial inspection. I'm gonna check the head, I'm gonna check the ears, I'm gonna check the bite, I'm gonna check the shoulder, I'm gonna check the top line, I'm gonna check the angles, I'm gonna check the depth of chest, which is one of my big things. Because they're supposed to have breathing room and
They got to have
that tuck
lungs.
up. You got to have lungs, and if you don't have depth of chest and a big chest to hold those lungs, then you're not going to function properly, and that's what it's all about. Even though they're in a ring or they're on a show bench, it's still about the functionality of a dog. And that's where that's why I say that you know, as the years have progressed, and I've learned more about the hounds and what to watch and what to look for. Um, you really can tell so much about a hound on the ground. Um, that you can't hide things about a dog on the ground because the dog's just going to be what the dog is.
Right.
You can hide things on the bench. We all do it.
Yep.
We learn those tricks and those traits as we progress through our careers, and but you can't hide those things on the ground. And I want to see a dog that has proper mobility. I want to see a dog that when they move out because that's what they're supposed to do. But I also want to see a dog that has a good structure, that has um, some bone density to them. When you grab a hold of them, you know that they're that there's bone there that's, that's, and I won't necessarily say that they have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger as far as their muscle tone, but you want to see a dog that is in good shape, in good condition, because that's what they need to be. And there's so much that goes into that, but when
A
I'm
lot.
evaluating that hound, I want to see them on the ground, of course. That's why we do that first. And I will put two dogs back or three back on the ground if I can't, if I get down to the nitty gritty and I'm like, okay, I want to see them on the ground again. I'll put you back down on the ground because I want to see you move. And a lot of times, if I'm down to one, two, three hounds that I'm contemplating, I'll put you back down on the ground because that's going to tell me pretty quickly, remind me what you were on the ground. And, then you can make those decisions. But really, it's the structural soundness of a hound is my biggest thing. I want them to be structurally sound,
Right.
and as correct as they can be. Like I said, there's no perfect dog. Every dog has something. Um, but you just have to go through those things and those progressions. And I have a routine when I judge of how I judge them, how I start, what I look at, where I start at, go through the whole progression. Um, and it's something that I tried to do, and I guess it probably helped because I did kids at the youth nationals. It's such a one of my first assignments. It is so important to give everybody their moments, and that's a thing that happened to me a couple of times to where I just felt like I was just totally not even looked at or given a time frame of their time. So I know how that made me feel. And that was way back, and I'm like, if I ever do judge or I get to be a judge, that's one thing that I'm not going to do. I'm not going to not give that person who paid their entry fee, just like everybody else did, their moment, whether they have the best dog out there or whether they have the worst dog that's standing in front of me. They deserve their moment. They deserve you to give them your time to evaluate their dog. And so that was always been one of my goals as a judge was to make sure that I gave everybody their moment.
Yeah.
And then you get in situations like Autumn Oaks where you have so many dogs, and so I really got into the mind frame and when I was judging at Oaks to give everybody their moment, but also not take so much time in specific classes or whatever to where it just gets drug out, because you honestly you can make your decision pretty quickly in a lot of situations. When you get down to your overalls or your best of shows, your champion male overalls or whatever, you have to slow down
Yeah.
sometimes and really evaluate each one of those hounds because they did win their breed. So you have to take that moment and sometimes a little longer. And um, I don't feel bad if I take an extra couple of minutes because I feel like I'm doing a justice to those people. Plus, I'm making sure that I am making the decision that I want to make
Yeah.
based upon what's in front of me at that moment. So, but structure was one of my biggest things. I
And
want to see a real hound, though.
freedom of movement.
You know, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. One of the biggest things that I try to help with kids or younger people or young or new people that are in our sport is if they ask you things and I will if I'm judging like if I'm judging a youth show or even judging a regular show and somebody brings me a dog that they've got on a lead that is so tight that the dog can't even walk, I'm like, okay, let's try this again. Go
Yeah.
back, loose lead it, just let the dog walk because that's their natural ability. That's where their natural form and function is going to come out. Not when you've got them pulled so tight on the lead that they're pulled up, tight up off their feet. You can't tell anything because they're going to fight you. When you do that, so that dog's not going to give you its 100%, and you're
Yeah.
better off just to let that hound be itself and let the judge see it for what it is,
That's
and
exactly right.
and go, and go from there because you're not helping yourself by doing those other things because you're actually making the dog look worse than it probably actually is.
And overworking a dog is so easy to do.
Oh, and I'm the world's worst.
Oh, I'm
It's
bad too.
well, we get in the ring, and then that nerve hits, and you're nervous, and you start thinking, and you start looking, and the judge is down on the other end where you're thinking, okay, I need to do this, and I need to do that, and I got to do this. And you're watching the judge, and you're doing your things, and if you aren't careful, you will work yourself right out of it.
And run your
Now
dog.
judges, yeah, and most judges are gonna they some judges are like they want that statue. They want that, they want them to stand there and stand as still as absolutely possible. I'm not one of those judges. I'm gonna judge a dog for what it is. I've picked many a dog, and even at major events, that didn't have the best handler,
Yeah.
but was the best dog that was in front of me at that moment. And I'll pick the dog because that's what it is. It's the dog.
Yeah.
And when a dog can naturally do things with an inexperienced handler or a young handler,
They're
um,
special.
those are the dogs that really stand out. I mean, my champion female at Autumn Oaks is a prime example. When I judged at Oaks, it was a young girl who had no idea what kind of a dog that she had on the end of her lead, but she had a beautiful little blue tick female whose natural movement was astonishing. And I didn't have her for breed. Andy had her for breed.
Right.
And so that's what she sent to me. And I saw, as we talked later, we saw the same things. That like I said, that little girl was not the best professional handler, but she had a natural dog that was just stunning when she moved and, just did her thing. And that was the reasoning behind my pick. Um, and that was one of those situations where I put two dogs back on the ground just to
Yeah.
make sure that I was seeing what I thought I was seeing. And yes, I was seeing what I thought I was seeing. And it was just an easy pick for me because that dog was just natural.
Amber Carroll, she was judging there.
Hmm.
And at the very end, she made a statement. To this day, I get chill bumps every time I talk about it.
Hmm.
But she complimented, and what she said, she commented, and she said, her statement was something in the essence of basically the shape that our dogs were in
Hmm.
and how clean they are. And
Hmm.
what she means by that is folks do not understand, Lisa, what goes
Hmm.
into a high quality show hound. I mean, a really
No,
high quality. They don't.
I mean it goes from feeding, it goes from exercise, it goes from grooming and bathing and training, and
Yes.
there's you
They're
know.
harder to train, and I hunt as well. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've hunted my whole life and won a lot of cast. And I've always said, them boys joke around in the woods. All them show boys. I said, I'm gonna tell you something right now. I'd rather
Hmm.
train in the woods than have to work at home with some of these show dogs.
Oh, absolutely.
It's brutal,
Absolutely. It is. And that's the just the it's the part of it that a lot of people don't understand.
right?
That you know, do I touch my hounds every day? No. When they were younger, you deal with them more training and doing the things. And as they get older, they know what they're supposed to do. And of course, coming up on a big show like Oaks, you do work the dogs and do those things a little more and get them back into, the shape. But sometimes the best thing that you can do for a hound is just let it be a hound, and because they know what to do. And my thing is, if you overwork or overpush a dog, you're going to burn them out, and they're not going to be, they're not going to want to do it anymore. And when a
Right?
hound is done with something, they're done. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't fix it. And
Nope.
so I like, when we're younger, we've got that 6-month-old dog and we're taking it to over show, and you're championing them, and then you've granded them and they're a year old and they're
Right.
nowhere ready to be a grand, and so those are the lessons that we have to learn as we go along. You have to aggressively, advance your dogs as they're ready for that competition. Um,
Yeah.
I still have three champion dogs, right now. That's my two English dogs and my young black and tan male are both all three champions.
Right.
Still got, Gracie or Mercy and Cole will be making their last trip this year. They're 9 years old and both still in great health and great condition. So they're making their last trip to Autumn Oaks as competitors, this trip.
Yeah.
And and they get to that, you get to that point, but those are the things that make you proud, you
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
to know everything that those two have accomplished. And they've
Yeah.
both won National Grand Black and Tan. And that's something that Gracie never won. She won opposite sex National Grand like 3 times. She never won National Grand. So Mercy won me my first one, and then she's won it twice, and Cole's won it twice. And um,
What was the feeling of winning National Grand?
to win National Grand of my breed, when I first that first one, T was actually my first one, my plot dog. God bless him. He was my first one, and but when I won those with Cole and Mercy, because those were my babies, those were my bred buys, those were the ones that were born here at home. You raised them, you trained them, you picked their sire. You did everything that you thought you were supposed to do to have the litter that you wanted. And for them to win the things that they've won um, means more to me than anything. And to watch the dogs that I've bred here that other people have win,
Yeah.
just and I know your mom, and and you do too, but your mom especially, because I mean your mom has hounds all over the country,
Oh,
from her breeding program, and I know how she's so proud when somebody with one of her hounds wins, and that's the thing, that's you can't replace that feeling,
you,
because you did something right
that's
when
right.
regardless of who's behind the hound, if it's something that you bred and you raised and they have it and they win, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. I don't breed a lot, because I breed for me, and I don't breed very often. Like my youngest litter is Ruger, and he'll be 3 in January. Hopefully I'm gonna have another English litter hopefully sometime in the next year. But that's just what it is. And, you just have to take the pride and have pride in what you're doing. I think people don't anymore. They don't have the pride. It's all about winning.
And they
And
don't have
you,
another thing they miss is, in my opinion, it's missed is
Mhm,
the owners, the original breeders do not get
mhm,
the acknowledgement that they should.
absolutely.
They
And I
don't.
have, I have a little English female that's out there. She's owned by Michelle Zimmerman, who lives up in Ohio, who's part of the Skyline Coonhound group. And they have a little English female that was off my Jazzberry litter, and um, she's had some health issues and done a lot of things, and she was put in a place that she needed to be. And I firmly believe that, because Michelle has been fabulous with her and took care of her medically and did everything that needed to be done to get her health back to where it needed to be. And she's a confirmation champion in AKC, and she's done those things with her. And but yet every time that she has a win with her, or she does something, she tags us in her posts.
Yeah.
And that means so much. Jake Brooks and Jordan are showing Dusty, the little English male. He's one of my Jazzberries, and they make me so proud, and to know that they have him and that they're showing him and winning with him. And I get in their pictures, or they acknowledge me if I'm not there. And that means so much when
Yeah.
you have those people out there, but it also reminds you that you're doing things the right way. And those kids are, the kids out there, we are so blessed with the young people that we have in our sport right now,
Oh
because
yeah. We got a good group.
I
We
mean,
got a really good group
and people think when they look at these kids, they're like, oh, they're just showing in the youth show or the kids show. I'm like, no, they're kicking our tails on a regular basis,
on a
you
national
know,
level.
on the national level. And that's something, like I said, 15 years ago, you didn't see that. It was almost like taboo for a young person to step in the ring, And now, you've got so many young people that are out there showing and encouraging the other kids. I mean, they're going to shows and they're taking other kids with them.
Right.
These kids are. And
Right.
that is so huge. That is so huge for our sport because if we don't keep them, we're not going to have one.
Well, and you know what
And
else I like seeing is these young men coming up in the sport too that are showing hounds.
showing, yes.
And I'm like, oh man, Jake Brooks is a great hunter, but he's a great handler on the bench
He's
too.
a great show handler. Yes,
I
he is.
mean,
And
and class act family, by the way. Wow, just good people.
yeah, they are. And, they've become very close with us. And, and we have it's just a true blessing, because you see, when you can see your hounds that you've bred and that you raised and that you loved, um, you can't keep them all.
Yeah,
You just can't. You can't. And even though I would love to, it's sometimes, and that litter was really special, and I'd love to have had them all, but wasn't able to do that. And but they had to know that they're in the right places,
yeah,
and to know that they're being loved and cared for and shown, and to do what they're supposed to be doing is just it just makes you burst with pride,
it does.
and when I watched Jake win the youth show at Grand American the first time he won it 2 years in a row. Um, with Dusty, I was just beside myself, you know, and if we can't be there to encourage each other, um, regardless, if we can't encourage, then we're not doing the right things.
Yeah.
Um, I try to be a friend to most, you know, um, doesn't always work, but you try to be a friend to most, and there's other people that you're going to have a better relationship with. But if we can't encourage everybody, regardless of the situation and the circumstances, then we're not doing what we're supposed to do as, I don't want to say the elders of our um, coonhound family, but I'm getting there. I'll be 54 years old in a couple of weeks, and um, I take that seriously. And I take how people look at me. I don't want them to look at me and say, oh, she's just whatever. I want people to be able to feel free to talk to me or to come up to me or to ask me questions or just come up and say, hey. I have some of these kids that I've helped through the years, and they still see me to this day, no matter where we're at. And they're going to come up and they're going to give you the biggest hug in the world because you meant something to them at some point when they were learning the ropes. That means
Right.
more than anything.
Well,
That means more than anything.
and I've been asked, a few times about why would you interview these kids that no one knows anything about? I'm like, excuse me? Let me tell you
Right.
something. These kids are twice as good than most handlers in the nation.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, they
and to,
are.
to get that kind of compliment for someone to be talking about why I should be interviewing a Hall of Famer instead of these youngins, I hate to tell you, these are future Hall of Famers, guys.
They are. They are. And like I said, if we can't encourage anybody, I don't care who
Right.
you are, you know, people laugh at the Black and Tan family, but that's what we are. And if you've ever been to Black and Tan days, which a lot of people have, as with other breeds or whatever, I've been to English days and I've been to all these major events and stuff. But when we go to Black and Tan days, it's a genuine family. I mean, we go compete, we do our thing, and then in the evenings we're all hanging out. We're having just a grand time there on the grounds or wherever we're at, hotel parking lot. It doesn't matter. We're all together.
And I'm trying to
And
make it a point because I've heard this from numerous people, and I've always heard if you want to go to a good breed hunt, the best breed hunt is Black and Tan.
and we have, as I said, we really have a good time. We honestly do, and um, we just hang out and enjoy each other, enjoy our hounds, and and I think some of the other breeds are really getting back to that. I know the English Association had a fabulous event this year,
That's what I
and I've
heard.
been to English. I've been to English Days a few times. I did not go this year just because it was a month later than already being in Florida for Black and Tan Days, and going back to Florida was just a little much that close together. Um, but I heard they had a fabulous event. Their numbers were great, and that is so good to see.
Yeah.
You know, I know Walker Days, the numbers were up some this year from what they've been. I know Plot Days had a good turnout. Redbone Days had a good turnout, and that's important. That's
It's
important because
encouraging.
they had everything had really kind of fallen off, and COVID did a number on everything in this world, and it was including our world.
Yeah.
There were so
Well,
many
and the economy's not the best right now. Everybody's kind of
n-
pinching a penny. And for them
pinch in
numbers
a
to be
penny.
showing up, I'm
Yeah,
pretty proud
it's
of it.
that's yeah, that's encouraging, and especially to see all of our breed associations, and and instead of competing with each other with these breed associations, the breed associations now are starting to work with each other. And if one program is working in one association where they're trying to keep people involved year round, some of the other associations are starting to implement some of those things, that works for their association. And those are the things you communicate. You share information. I was served on the board of Black and Tan Association for about 4 years, um, and learned so much just by sitting there talking to the old timers of our breed, the hunting guys, the guys that's been in this for so long. And that to me now, because I can go into a hunt and and I see these guys and they're stopping me. Hey, how are you? And that means the world. Because really, I knew nobody when I first started. I had a few people that were in the industry, but I knew nobody. And I went to a lot of places on our own, just Shane and I. And he'd been in it for quite a few years, doing with his, with Clint and the Black and Tans and stuff. But they, it just you just can't undermine the progress that they're making. I think people are really making a conscious effort at this point to. The Tournament of Champions has helped the local clubs with their hunts because everybody wants to get those 5 cast wins.
Oh, yeah.
I mean that's a big deal. Now Worlds is especially on for these hunt guys. It's a big deal. There's lots of money on the line, and that's it's encouraging to see that they're still doing those things. I hope someday they'll. Yes, we have the top 10, but I'd love to see them put in some type of a Tournament of Champions type program to where
I
you
couldn't
know
agree more because I have
on the.
said when Winter Classic done their top 10 this past year, I said, wow,
Mhm.
man, that was electric. That was fun. I wasn't a part of it. I
Mhm.
witnessed it. I just got to
Mhm.
watch and I was like, this could be something big, like really, really big.
Yeah, and there's always room to grow. And when you stop looking outside of the box, you know, um, and the events are harder and harder. The sponsors are harder and harder. But I mean, you know that with your podcast. I mean, people aren't, like I said, the economy's tight right now. So, if you don't have a good solid breed association, um, whether it's your National Breed Association or, like with me working with Southeastern Tree and Walker Association, those guys like, we need you. I'm not a tree and walker person, but I know all those guys because we've been a part of each other's lives for so many years. They're like, would you consider being our bench show coordinator? And I was like, sure. Because I always went and showed, I'd be more than happy to. I
Right.
love that. I love to put those shows on. I love to make them grow. And, and we've worked hard, but those guys have been whatever you need. You just tell us what you need,
Yeah.
you know, and
And that means a
they
lot
have
when people come back to you.
yeah, it does. It's been great because I've grew the shows, the youth show and the regular show. We brought Purina back in for the show and the hunt park this past year to get that in there. So, um,
And
working on
when
an idea
when is the hunt,
for
by the
this
way?
year. The regular hunt is the last Saturday, Friday and Saturday in February.
Okay.
The youth hunt is the second Saturday in November.
Second Saturday in November. And
Yeah, and
where's
they're
it located?
Union, South Carolina.
Union, South Carolina.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Both hunts are held in Union, South Carolina.
All right, it'll get that shot out there to
Get
everybody.
that shout out and bring your kids to the youth show because we're having some great prizes. So I'm
We'll
working
make
on
sure
something
of it.
special. Working on something special that I'm hoping I can bring in some more breeds. Got some ideas running through my head. So um, we want to include everybody, and have them be able to be recognized and possibly win something. So, you
Lisa,
know,
and something I was discussing this with my mom the other day, and we were talking about how the sport has changed. But it does seem like there has been a transition in the last couple of years to
mm-hmm,
where I remember when I was showing up as a young man, it was almost like dinner on the grounds. Everybody kind of hung around, we cooked, we feel all associated with each
right.
other. Then it
Hmm.
did. You got a separation gap there for a while where it just got really political. I'll just say it like it is.
Absolutely,
It,
absolutely. I mean,
it was extremely
it was.
political. But in the last two years, it really seems like everybody has started to come right back together again. But
There we go.
it's really nice to see the sport starting to come back together. And I keep hearing, "Oh, Jason, this is a dying sport." No, it's not. This sport's growing, and
It is growing. It is growing.
we got
And
youth getting amazing prizes. I mean, brand new four wheelers. I mean, this sport's really growing. A young lady in Tennessee just kicked everybody's butt. A young lady did. I think it's Tennessee, wasn't it? Where she won the four wheeler. I mean, just
yeah, probably. Yeah.
I was like, see here. And then you got so many youngins out there that are going to be very, very special, and they're more skilled than the adults.
Because they've lived it. They've
That's
lived
right.
it.
That's exactly right.
And and that's the thing. And I look at these kids, of course we got Jake and Jordan, and then we got the whole Rorvik clan who I don't want to show against any of them, you know, and we got Peyton Emery, Andy and Keith's little girl who's my baby, but
Right.
um, I don't want to show against those kids unless I absolutely have to because they're awesome handlers and they're as competitive as any adult ever thought about being.
They're there to win.
And they are, look at what all Hannah Cable's accomplished. What a handler.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know, I seen a at West Virginia State's last weekend. I saw a young girl come in on Friday, and she showed a little plot bitch, and very nice little plot bitch, and she was probably 10, 11, maybe. And she's one of those people. When I saw her, I was like, wow. There's just those kids that some of them have that natural hand with a dog, and
Yeah.
it's not a struggle for them. Brody Bailey from right here in North Carolina, I seen him at Southeastern Youth one year, and I was like, wow, he has a natural hand with the dog, with the hound, and they don't, it's not a stress for them. They work and they get their dogs ready, but they just have such a soft, natural hand with a dog, and
What,
that's
what,
the kids you need to grab a hold of. And those are the kids you need to encourage and keep them in this business. I stopped that young girl's mom and that young girl, and I told them, I told both of them, luckily she's made friends with Jordan. So Jordan's going to encourage those girls. But I told that mom, I'm like, she has such a natural hand. You need to keep her in this sport. I
yeah.
said, she's going to do good things. She won champion female on Friday with that little plot bitch.
That's good to see.
10-year-old, 10, 11-year-old little girl,
Yeah.
and and deserved every bit of it.
Yeah.
Deserved every bit of it, and those are the times when you just have to grab a hold. You have to encourage these kids and encourage the parents because at this
Yeah.
point, the kids can do what they can do, but if they don't have a parent or someone behind them that is traveling with them,
We need to get them
supporting
there.
them, right? Those parents are the key at this point, or that mentor that they travel with, or whatever. Those are the things that matter. Without those, these kids are going to not have that opportunity. And
And
so if I see that,
shout out to Schooner River Kennels. I mean, that Ethan Coleman, they have taken that young man under their
yes,
wing, and
absolutely,
wow. I mean,
absolutely,
it blows me away
absolutely,
what the sport's starting to get back to what it used to be, Miss Lisa. I'm telling you.
it is, and we're getting back to what matters, and that's our family, as the Cunyon family, the hounds, and the kids.
That's right.
That's what matters. That's
That's
what
right.
matters. And it all just works together in this beautiful little circle.
I got asked a question. They said, "Why are you doing your
Okay.
podcast?" I said, "All right, I'll tell you why I do the podcast. The reason why I done the podcast because I grew up in Florida showing hounds. I had no mentors. I had Mr. Johnny Brinkley. I got to see him every now and again. I got to see Mr.
Right.
Johnny, and he was a wealth of knowledge and always helped me when he saw me.
Absolutely.
But when you're in Florida, you're almost isolated from the show world, technically. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we don't have much down here. You just
Mm-mm.
don't. So, and I told everybody, I said, I'll never forget, there wasn't very many that would talk to us back then. I said, if
Mm-hmm.
we ever made it and we ever got to a point to where I was able to speak out and had the caliber and the mentality to be able to say, hey, I know what a dog looks like, I'm going to share it and I'm going to share it with everybody because
Absolutely.
there's no reason to be hiding secrets or how to handle or anything from anyone. If we can make the sport better, we're all better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, like I said, that's always been my thing. I don't care if you're an experienced handler, just like when I came up to you. I mean, you're an experienced handler, but I seen something that I thought could help you.
Absolutely.
And, it's just like last night when we were at Keith and Andy's, she brought Hank out and she said, do I need to cut some or is he good? Because that's what we do. We look at each other's dogs and say, no, he needs to lose a few pounds or he needs to put on a couple pounds or he's fine. And those are the things that we do because we encourage each other.
And you got to
And
have
she wasn't that
someone there that'll be honest. You got to have someone there that'll be honest with you, and you
honest.
also have to be honest with yourself.
And you have to take that honesty for whatever it is, because sometimes it's good honesty and sometimes it's not so good honesty. Like I said, because you never know on any given day what your hound is going to do. And, sometimes you'll get those and you just have to be able to put them all in a bucket and shake them up and get the best parts of it out and roll with it. It's just part of it. And,
Well,
we've all had our times in the years that we've been doing this to where you get discouraged.
yeah,
I'll admit it. There's been a couple of times when I've lost litters or lost dogs, and one time I was ready to walk away, and that's when Jasmine was able to come into my life and set me on another whole course of being able to have a hound that I loved showing who sleeps on the foot of my bed every night. And that's just what it is. And even though you go through those discouraging moments, and if it's something that you really love, it's just like a family, a regular family. There's going to be times when everything is not perfect, but you have to work through those.
right.
And same thing with the hounds, and same things with the coonhound family. There's always going to be a situation or a circumstance or where somebody has something to say about somebody or something that somebody did. It's life. It's
It's
just what
life.
we do.
Get over it.
Don't take Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. Just pull your big girls up, as I like to say, and just move on and go on to the next one. And
Yeah. On
go
that,
ahead.
Miss Lisa, I want to say thank you. I mean, I really appreciate you coming
Absolutely.
on. I mean, it's nice
Hey,
to sit
no
down and talk
problem.
to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
All right.
Anytime. I enjoy it, and I'll talk about hounds all day long. So
Well, we're gonna do it again very soon, my friend. I'll see you at Automotes and be safe.
we'll
Be safe
we'll
getting there.
see
Okay.
you next week. Yes, sir. We'll see you soon.
All right. God bless. Take care.
All right. Bye.